So industrial pollution, okay. So is it visible, audible?
Yes, sir.
So industrial pollution and environmental degradation. So let's go for the discussion of this particular part where we started with the idea, which is so Sneha, you are talking about from the part called as a industrial development, but I think that the earlier part is covered.
Yes, sir. Aluminum smelting, sugar industry was covered.
Soumya, did you read those of the things or Soumya? Soumya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm talking about it.
Yes, sir.
We'll resume from there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So once we, if we talk about the topic or the idea which is pertinent to here, that is called as a this much is already done. Industrial pollution and environmental degradation. So when we talk about industrial pollution and environmental degradation, it means things which industries contribute to the society, right, or to the environment. You can say that. So which are called as a maybe good things, but as we are talking about pollution, so we are referring to what? The pollution that we draw from the industries or contribute importantly to India's economic growth and development. If you see that, although industries contribute significantly to India's economic growth and development, you will find out that the increase in pollution of land, water, air, noise, and resulting degradation of environment. So obviously the pollution that you draw from the industries are harming to whom? Harming to the environment. And how it causes to the environment? It degrade the level of the environment, right, that they have caused. Cannot be overlooked. You cannot ignore that. Industries are responsible for what? Now that's called as a four types of pollution. Four types of pollution. What are those? Now, air, water, land, or noise. It means through this, it actually spreads the pollution. The polluting, so air, you understand that if you look into the condition of Delhi, right? If you look into the condition of the country India, so what do you find out? Like people cannot breathe properly. Why? Now, because of the germs, because of the level of the pollution present in air, right, causes lots of disease, right? Even water, water means you cannot even drink water. Drinking water is very less. Even you also find out the land, that is also degrading its condition, like unable to produce or yield good amount of product, or called as a vegetables, or maybe called as a means region of losing its fertility, right? And noise, that's also there. The polluting industries also include thermal power plants. If you talk about that, the polluting industries also include thermal power plants. Means what? Many of the other Other things are inculcated into it, but it has been used with the thermal power plants. Air pollution. Let's go for that air, water, land, and noise. Air pollution is what? Now, it is caused by the presence of high proportion of undesirable gases. Undesirable gases, such as you can talk about sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. So, sulfur and carbon dioxide or monoxide present in air excessive amount that creating nothing but a uh, harmful to the means you can say environment as well as to the means human being, right? Airborne particulate means something which is spreading through the air, right? Airborne particulate materials contain both solid and liquid particles like dust, sprays, mist, and smoke. So particles present in air. So that may be called as a solid particles or liquid particles. So you can talk about dust, which is called as a solid, sprays, mist, and smoke. Those of the things. Smoke is caused by chemical or emitted by chemical and paper factories. So you would find out the smoke comes out from the where? Now paper factories, brick kilns, refineries, and also smelting plants. So if you get a kind of a question, brick kilns belong to which of the which of the areas coming out from the industries? Now you can say that it is caused due to the air, right? And it contains in the air and it harms to the body and human being or called as environment. So it is a one of the airborne, mm, what do you say that? Airborne materials or called as a means dust, you can say airborne dust or means airborne things. So refineries and smelting plants and burning of fossil fuels. So you also find out those of the areas, refineries and smelting plants and burning of fossil fuels in big and small factories that ignore pollution norms. Pollution norms means whatever the rules of the pollution that has been neglected. Toxic gas, which means called as a poisonous gas, leaks from the factories can be very harmful or dangerous with long-term effects. So if you aware, if you're aware of the Bhopal gas tragedy, so it's a kind of a incident, not even incident, it's called as a tragedy where many human beings killed and also affected adversely. So that is called as a one of the example you can take that happens through the air pollution, and it adversely or dangerously affects human health, animals, plants, buildings, and the atmosphere as a whole. So this is what you can find out means air pollution cost, and the example is called as a means a Bhopal gas tragedy, right? And you also note down that's called as a solid and uh, liquid substances present in air. Uh, it spreads around the environment and also caused airborne disease, right? So it not only affects to the human being, but also affects to animals, plants, and buildings and the atmosphere as a whole. Now, the second pollution is called as a water pollution. So what is that? Now, water pollution is caused by organic and inorganic industrial waste. Organic and inorganic industrial waste uh, and affluents discharged into rivers. So organic and inorganic means what? Something which is called as a harmful and usable or called as a not usable, coming out exhausted through the industrial waste, and also it comes with the excessive manner. Method. And affluents discharge into rivers. Affluents discharge into rivers. So discharge affluents means called as excessive amount of means these waste these waste discharge or coming out into rivers. The main region or the main culprits or accused in this regard are called as a paper, pulp, chemical, textile, and dyeing, petroleum refineries, tanneries, and electroplating in industries that allow our dyes. Detergents, acids, salts, and heavy metals like lead and mercury, pesticides, fertilizers, synthetic chemicals with the carbon, plastics, and rubber. So into the raw water bodies. So you would find out that even dead bodies are also means floated. Even means they have been also uh, buoyed into the water. So that is why you would find out how the water gets into the poisonous. Now, because of the things which are coming out from the industries and mixed into the water, which is generally used by the nearby uh, nearby the uh, so you can say that people, right? So or people who live nearby that use it. So it is stating that uh, if I'm talking about fertilizers, synthetic chemicals with carbon, plastics, and rubber into the water bodies, fly ash for phosphogypsum and iron and steel slags, fly ash, phosphogypsum and iron, and also steel stacks. They are the major solid waste in India, which are also found, right? So in that case you will find out means how the water body is getting polluted because of these are the things coming out from the industries and mixed, and for which it affecting to it it affects to the people a lot, or called as a plants or animals and also soil as well. So beside air and water, we have also other that's called as a thermal pollution. So when you talk about thermal pollution of water occurs when hot water from factories and thermal plants is drained into rivers. So understand that uh, beside the things which you find out, which are called as a waste bodies from the industries and mixed into the water. So there are also means hot water from factories and thermal plants is drained into rivers and ponds before cooling. What would be the effect of on aquatic life? So obviously they are going to die. Waste from nuclear power plants. So that the place where the nuclear power plant is called as a researched or um, organized or established nuclear and weapon production facilities, those also cause cancers uh, in human being, birth defects in women and miscarriages. Soil and water pollution are closely related. Soil and water pollution are closely related. Dumping of waste, especially glass, harmful chemicals, industrial effluents, packaging salts, and garbage that causes the soil useless, means the condition of the soil turning destroyed because of the what. Now, because of the means what, because of the things or waste coming out from the means a thermal plant or called as a nuclear power plant, right? So even rainwater percolates to the soil carrying the pollutants. So percolates means it rainwater also helps to uh, do what? Now percolates to the soil, right? Carrying what? Carrying the pollutants to the ground, and the groundwater also gets contaminated. Means they also get affected, right? So air, water, and thermal. Beside that, noise pollution. So not only this noise pollution results in irritation and anger, right? Like whenever you find out the kind of a sound, unnecessary sound, around us, so creating nothing but a psychological effect and irritation and anger among us. It can also cause a hearing impairment, so you're unable to hear also, and your heart rate is increased, and blood pressure among other physiological effects also occur. Unwanted sound is an irritant and also source of stress, right? People get mental stress. Industrial and construction activities, machinery, factory equipment, generators, saws, and pneumatic and electric drills also make a lot of noise. That is why, so noise pollution can also considering as a what? Now, means one of the pollution that affects to the environment, and also um, causes lots of disability, like you can say, and hearing impairment, heart rate developed, and also blood pressure, physiological effect, so irritant and stress also. Those are the things which caused because of which are caused because of the noise pollution. Now, moving to the next one, that's called as a control of environmental degradation. So when you are talking about, means these are the regions for which what happened, means uh, we consider they are the cause of the means environment pollution, right? So how do we control them, right? How do we degrade the uh, means of problems pertain to the environment? So every liter of waste water discharged by our industry pollution 8 times the quantity of what? Quantity of fresh water, right? So how can the industrial pollution of fresh water be reduced? Right. Some suggestions are there. How can we means uh, consider the industrial pollution of fresh water, right? So be reduced. So we supposed to means eradicate the problem of industrial population. Suggestions are like what? Now we supposed to use minimum use of water for processing by reusing and recycling it in 2 or more successive stages. Like the amount of water we use it in the industries. So we supposed to not exhaust it or not um, uh, make them a way to mix with the water bodies or called as a pond or river. We can use them, reuse them, recycle them, so 2 or more times, right? So that is called as a one of the suggestion. Second suggestion is called as a harvesting of rainwater to meet water requirements. We supposed to we must understand that the water fresh water amount is reducing day by day, right? So that's why we supposed to keep the consumption of rainwater to meet our water requirements. So third is called as a treating hot water and effluents before releasing them in rivers and ports. Treating hot water and effluents. So we supposed to understand the hot water which can cause to the aquatics, right, harm, right? So in that case, what do we do? Now we supposed to means make a kind of a means what? Make a kind of a elements or called as a chemicals present into it to uh, remove them, right? So or instead of means allowing them to mix in rivers and ponds, treatment of industrial effluents can be done in 3 phases, so you can use them and then after you can send it. The 3 phases can be called as a primary treatment by mechanical means. This involves screening, grinding, fluctuating, and sedimentation. So screening, grinding, flocculation, and sedimentation. So what are they? Now they are called as a making the or treating hot water and effluents before we release them. So means it is called as a process that we supposed to follow, right? So second is called as a secondary treatment by biological process. right? Third is called as a tertiary treatment by biological, chemical, and physical process. This involves recycling of wastewater. So in that case, we can talk about means if we use those of the hot water twice or thrice time in a different purpose, then we can able to reduce, right? Overdrawing of groundwater reserves by industry where there is a threat to groundwater resources also needs to be regulated legally. Regulated legally means what? Now it's called as a excessive you are taking from the groundwater, right? So by whom? By the industries. What will happen? And that can be called as a threatening to be threatening to groundwater. How? Now maybe the groundwater level is reducing. So in that case, groundwater resources also needs to be regulated legally. So we need to check that. Particulate matter in the air can be reduced by fitting smokestacks to factories with electrostatic precipitators, fabric filters, scrubbers, and inertial separators. Smoke can be reduced by using oil or gas instead of coal in factories. So understand that we draw a couple of things like how can we reduce water pollution? How can we mm, reduce the noise pollution, and how can we means uh, reduce the smoke, right? Almost all machinery can be redesigned to increase energy efficiency and reduce noise, right? Reduce noise. So you can see that certain pictures are there like a sewage treatment plant under Yamuna Action Plan at Faridabad. So it is stated that noise absorbing material may be used apart from personal use of earplugs and earphones. Instead of using by earplugs and earphones, we also have other objects which can be called as a means absorbing noise. The challenge of sustainable or gradual development requires integration, right? Integration means it's called as a unity of economic development with environmental concerns. So if we all take the kind of means all take a kind of a step to eradicate this water problem, noise problem, air problem, thermal problem, then we able to means eradicate that. This is called as a National Thermal Power Corporation shows the way. NTPC is a major power providing corporation in India. It has ISO certification for EMS, Environment Management System, 14001. So it is called as a standard, Indian standard of organization, you can say. The corporation has a proactive approach for preserving the natural environment and resources like water, oil and gas and fuels in places where it is setting up power plants. This has been possible through optimum utilization of equipment, adopting latest techniques and upgrading existing equipment. So it uses nothing but a unique equipment that can be called as the latest techniques and upgrading existing equipment. Minimizing waste generation by maximizing ash utilization. So instead of exhausting all the waste, that waste can be also used for the purpose of ash, providing green belts for nurturing ecological balance and addressing the pollution. Addressing the question of purpose, special purpose vehicles for afforestation. So how to conserve the forest, even reducing environmental pollution through ash pond management, ash water recycling system, and liquid waste management. So who does an example of NTPC? Ecological monitoring, so understanding the balance, right? Reviews and online database management for all its power station, right? This is called as a Ramagundam plant. Okay, so any doubt, any query that you would like to ask me, please do ask. Yes, have you Have you understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now tell me that. Uh, if you have any kind of a doubt, you can ask. So, Maya, did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, manufacturing industry, I just give you or tell you one of the summary of it. Manufacturing industries. Where did I keep that summary? Summary. Hmm. Okay. So in this particular chapter, manufacturing industry, what are the things we learned? We learned about certain things, like we discussed about manufacturing, importance of manufacturing. Third is called as a contributing or contribution of industry to national economy. Fifth is called as a, we understand the classification of industry on the industries on the basis of raw materials provided. Six is called as a classification of industries according to their main role. Seventh is called as a classification of industries on the basis of what? Capital investment. Eight is called as a classification of what? Industries on the basis of ownership. And then after we discussed about still. Let's go for the first one, important terms. If you look into the important terms, so what do you find out? The first one, you will find out air pollution. So what is that? Now we understood that it is caused by the presence of high proportion of undesirable gases. Air pollution is what? Now, presence of high proportion of undesirable gases such as sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. So these are the two are called as a creating means a poison to air pollution. Second is what? Agro-based industries. What are they? The industries which obtain or means carry with what? Raw materials from agricultural products. Example, you can talk about sugar industry, right? Third is called as agglomeration economies. What is that agglomeration economies? Now the industries that interested to come together to make use of the advantages offered by the urban centers. That is called as agglomeration economies, right? So like many of the industries who come together to take the benefit presented by or offered by urban centers. Next is, that is what? Agglomeration industries or economies. Next one is called as a basic industries. So what is that basic industries? And now industries on which depend many other industries, right, for their manufacturing process. Like you can say iron and the steel industry, right? They can be called as a basic industry, right? Next one is called as a dyeing, D-Y-E-I-N-G. Dyeing is what? Now it is the process of adding color to textile products like fibers, yarns, and fabrics, right? And those are actually creating pollution to the water bodies. Next is called as an entrepreneur. So, who an entrepreneur is referring to the people, an innovator of new ideas who sets up a business, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. Next is called as a ginning, G-I-N-N-I-N-G. So ginning is referring to the process of separating the seeds iron from the cotton fibers, is known as a ginning, G-I-N-N-I-N-G. So process of separating seeds from the cotton fibers. Next is called as a manufacturing. So obviously production of goods in large quantities, uh, after converting raw materials, components, or parts into finishing goods can be called as a manufacturing. Next is called as a and what is that NMCC? NMCC is referring as the National Manufacturing, N for National, M for Manufacturing, C for Competitiveness Council, NMCC. Then next is called as a mineral-based industries, industries that use minerals and metals as raw materials, like iron and steel industry. Next is called as a noise pollution. So when you are talking about noise pollution, it is actually caused by industrial and construction activities, machinery generators, electric drills, and loudspeaker. Those are called as a noise pollution, right? So next is called as a large scale. What do we say that? Large scale industries. What is that large scale industries? Now, industries which employ or engage a large number of labor in each of the unit. Example, you can talk about cotton textile industry, right? Next, it's called as a public sector industries. What are the public sector industries? Now, industries which are owned or taken and operated by government agencies. Example, GAIL, GAIL, VEL, VHEL, uh, right? So those are called as a public sector, private sector, right? So public sector is owned by government, whereas private sector is referring to a particular uh, community, or maybe called as a particular person who owns that. Next is called as a textile industries. Textile is a fabric that is knitted or woven and made from yarn. It is the industry responsible for taking a raw material like cotton or wool and spinning it into yarn that is later used to create the fabric that can be called as a textile industries. The next one is called as a spinning, S-P-I-N-N-I-N-G. So it is the twisting. It is the twisting together of drawn out strands of fibers to form a yarn, and is a major part of the textile industry. Which one? Spinning. If you talk about textile industry, we find out how, textile, it is a fabric that is knitted or woven and made from yarn. So it is the kind of industry responsible for raw material like cotton or wool and spinning it into yarn. So latter used as a fabric. So similar to that, spinning is also belonging to the textile industry, or the major part of the textile industry. So it works is called as a twisting together of drawn out strands of fibers to form a yarn. Next is called as a Khansari, Khandsari, Khansari. What is that? Now, it is a type of unrefined raw material or white sugar made from thickened sugarcane syrup. It is neither bleached nor contains harmful chemicals and additives. Even you can also talk about organic chemicals. These include petrochemicals, which are used for manufacturing of synthetic fiber, plastics, drugs, and pharmaceuticals. Inorganic chemicals, so organic and inorganic, understand the difference. So synthetic fiber, plastic, drugs, and pharmaceuticals, organic, right? So petrochemicals also. Huh? कॉल फोन कर लिए अभी क्या हो किधर I don't know. ये हाँ से मोरो ଗୋଟେ କଲେଜରୁ ଆସିଥିଲା ଇଣ୍ଟରଭ୍ୟୁ ପାଇଁ ସେ କହିଥିଲା ପଚାରୁଥିଲା କେଣ ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି କଣ ଲେଖି ଅବିକା କଲ୍ ଆସିଥିଲା ସେ ହେଇଛୁ ବୋଧେ ନିଜ 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 କିଏ ହଁ Okay. So next, the idea is called as we will discuss lots of things about these important points. So and finally we come to the summary of it. That's called as the topic begins with the what idea called as a manufacturing. So what is that manufacturing? It is the production of goods in large quantities after processing raw materials into more valuable products. Industries that manufacture finished products from primary material are called manufacturing industries, right? So it's a very simple. Manufacturing is what? Now the production of goods in large quantities after processing raw materials into more valuable products. Industries that manufacture finished products from primary material are called manufacturing industries. So what are the importance of manufacturing? It's actually economic strength of a country lies in the development of manufacturing industries, because the first point, manufacturing industries help in modernizing agriculture that forms the backbone of our economy. Second is called as a manufacturing industries also reduce the heavy dependence of people on agricultural income because of the creation of new jobs in secondary and tertiary sector. Third is called as the industrial development, helps in eradication or called as a removing of unemployment and poverty. Industrial development. uh, then after fourth one is called as a export of manufactured goods, uh, expands trade and commerce and increases prosperity. So export of manufactured goods means expands trade and commerce, and commerce means called as business. So trade means import and export business, and doing this business and increase nothing but the happiness or called as a benefits. Fifth is called as a country with a high level of manufacturing activities become prosperous. Sixth is called as it brings down regional disparities or problems. Seventh is called as manufacturing brings much needed foreign exchange. Eight is called as it increases the growth development per person or called as a national income of the country, right? Next is called as a contribution of industry to national economy. The share of manufacturing sector in the GD, gross domestic production, product has stagnated at 17% over the last 2 decades. The total contribution of industry to the GDP is 27%, out of which 10% comes from mining, quarrying, electricity, and gas. The growth of the manufacturing sector had been 7% in the last decades. Since 2003, the growth rate has been 9 to 10% per annum. The desired growth rate over the next 10 year is called as a 12%. So please to understand that contribution of industry is 27% in GDP, which is out of which 10% comes from the mining areas, electricity and gas. The growth of the manufacturing sector had been 7% since 2003, right? And the growth rate has been 9 to 10% per annum, right? And we desire for the 12%. So NMCC, which I pointed that called as a National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council, has been set with the objective of improving productivity through in, proper policy interventions by the government and renewed efforts by the industry, right? So if we discuss, these are the things which are called as a means discussed through this particular chapter, right? We also discussed today's session that called as how air pollution, water pollution, solid waste, right? Industries, smoke, all those things, importance of IT sector, all those things have been discussed, right? Okay, so what we will do now, we will go for the mm, some time for your reading into it, and then after I'll give you some test on this particular topic to do. So just read for some time. After that, I'll come to give you, yeah, I'll come to give you some questions to attend that. Or have you read this, or have you understood any doubt or query that you would like to ask me? Are you there, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, just read it. I'm going to give you some questions to discuss uh, discuss in this particular part. Whatever I taught you, just means go through that. Whatever I taught today, go through that. I'm going to give you some questions.
It's from industrial pollution and environmental growth.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. From there only. From that particular part.